Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? How is everything? I hope everything is going on smoothly.
The movie begins with these guys in Egypt admiring the pyramids as we see this family and their retarded offspring who evidently does not get beaten enough. This dumb fuck proceeds to run all the way to the edge of an unstable platform. Like, are you blind? Like, are you stupid? Like, can't you see that this is dangerous? I mean, I get you're a child, and in movies they make you guys brain dead, but still, this is just too much. This is just too much. Like, actually, I can't even lie. If I was these guys, I won't even have run to come and save his life. I'd have killed him myself. He falls and does not die, although I kind of wish he did. However, it turns out that somebody has stolen an entire pyramid. I mean, I don't know what that person intends to do with 3,000-year-old bricks. I mean, how would they be valuable to you in any way, shape, or form? I don't know. But apparently, it is a big deal. And it was a big deal, though. These people, they made a lot of mouth about it. Me, I couldn't care less. That's prime real estate right there. Anyhow, we get introduced to the main character. His name is Guru. Bro's going about his morning routine, being a bastard, picking on 9-year-olds for no fucking reason, bro. Why? That was not hard, bro. You're like 45. You are 45 years old. That guy is 9. You are not hard at all. Yeah, he also has this odd creature that he calls a dog. I don't believe him, Shab. I think that's cap. Yeah, Gru is a generally weird person, and he's also a bastard, who's just going around being a bastard. And he gets visited by these 3 orphans, Margot, Edith, and Agnes. So these 3 are trying to sell him cookies. However, because Gru is a bastard, he doesn't want to patronize them, and he sends them on their way. He then gets on the phone with his evil partner, Dr. Nefario, who informs Gru that somebody has stole the pyramids. And apparently it is a big deal because, it makes other supervillains, look stupid, which I would agree with if they stole something that was actually worth money. I mean, just think about the amount of capital, the amount of stress, the amount of energy that you go into stealing an entire landmark that you can't even sell on the black market. Oh, would you want to buy a pyramid? What the hell? All the treasure is in the pyramid. It's in the pyramid. I know the treasure has been taken from the pyramid by those who discovered it. So there's nothing in the pyramid. Those things are empty. It's just thousands of year old sandstone. Sandstone. Who wants to buy sandstone? What's the point? Maybe next time you are thieving something, thief something that is worth money that you can sell and can compensate the effort. So Gru, out of his jealousy, decides to steal something that is actually relevant. The moon. So he assembles these tiny yellow people that he calls minions, and Dr. Nefario to this assembly where he tells them about his plan to steal the moon, how he's going to use this device called the shrink ray to shrink the moon into a thievable size, and yeah. But this is when my boy Dr. Nefario has to stop brewing his tracks. His dreams are getting too expensive for this economy, you understand? I have to remind bro that it's broke. You have to steal the moon. You have to go to space. You have to get the rockets. Rockets? They ain't cheap. Yeah.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
So Guru plans to get a loan from the Bank of Evil to facilitate his expedition. Now, don't get me wrong. From a villain's point of view, stealing the moon, it's kind of dope. That would have been good for your CV as a supervillain. However, before we steal something, how about we step back a little and begin by asking ourselves the necessary questions, like why is this big ass rock where it is in the solar system? Why do we have a moon in the first place? A 5-minute Google search is all that you needed to see that the moon affects our planet's tilt. And our planet's tilt is very important, very, very important for these things we call seasons. That is why we don't have winter today, summer tomorrow, and autumn the day right after. The moon also helps in the regulation of global temperatures and wind patterns, things that we would not like to be random and are very necessary, very crucial for the enjoyment of life, including yours. So unless you intend to carry your moon, go and join Elon Musk on Mars. Maybe next time you want to steal something, you steal something that does not affect your daily life. So we go back to the three orphans who are reporting to the orphanage, where they meet another adult who takes out their frustrations in life on preteens.
Edith! What did you put on my desk?
A mud pie.
You're never gonna get adopted, Edith.
Yeah.
You know that, don't you?
Yeah. Ooh. Look at how she is though. She get breast. So the next day, Gru is on his way to the bank to get a loan. On the way, his mother makes fun of him and, then he arrives.
Why? What was the reason? I can't think of any reason. Really, no reason at all. Because, what the fuck?
So while in the bank, he meets this guy called Vector, whom he ignores and just goes on to get his loan. However, the bank does not want to give him a loan because he's a regular customer. You see, none of his other schemes were profitable. And there are also younger villains that are coming up that the bank wants to invest in, like Vector, because it was actually Vector who stole the pyramids. So Gru goes out, and out of jealousy, he freezes Vector's face, and then he goes to get the shrink ray so that he can convince the bank to give him a loan. But immediately gets robbed by Vector, who is out for revenge, and he gets away basically. The next day, Gru tries to get the shrink ray back. However, he continuously fails. He should have died a number of times in this series of events. However, this is a movie. Gru then observes that the same fatherless offsprings that, were selling cookies at his doorstep a couple of days earlier were able to access Vector's lair because he likes cookies. So he hatches a plan to use them to get the shrink ray for himself. So he fakes his documents and goes as a doctor to adopt them and, bring them home. Where Margot finally asks,
What kind of dog is that?
Thank you. That thing, that creature is not a dog. Anyhow, he leads them to go and talk with Dr. Nefario, who has developed these robots that are disguised as cookies that Gru is going to use to infiltrate into Vector's lair. However, the girls somehow followed him, and we get many relevant scenes that we're just going to be skipping because we don't have time. So we're just going to cut to the next day, where Gru wants to go and carry out his plan. So after taking the girls to ballet class and promising that he will come for their performance that they have in a few days, they go to Vector's house where they import the cookie bots. Gru uses the cookie bots to infiltrate Vector's base and gets inside. However, he somehow traps himself in, so they use cartoon logic to escape. So afterward, Gru takes the girls to this funland place where they go to have fun, and then Gru starts taking a liking to the girls. However, Dr. Nefario tells Gru to get back to work and focus on his career. So he does that by getting in touch with the bank about the loan. However, the bank rep guy refuses to give him the loan because I will explain why later. Don't worry, just stay tuned. Gru decides to give up on his project. However, everybody decides to donate their resources to cover up the cost of building the rockets. We then get some more irrelevant scenes that I'm going to be skipping because we don't have time. So we then go back to the bank rep whose son is Vector. So, you see, the reason why he didn't give Gru the loan is because he actually wants his own son, Vector, to steal the moon and make a career for himself as a villain. It was also him who informed Vector about the shrink ray, and so he tells him to steal it back. And we cut back to Dr. Nefario, who is telling Gru that he needs to be focused on this plan because he is, getting distracted with being a father to the girls. So the next day, Dr. Nefario decides to send them back to fatherlessness. Then comes the day of the launch, and then they go to space, shrink the moon, and try to get to the girls' ballet recital. However, during this time, Dr. Nefario has discovered that the shrink ray's effects do not last forever. In fact, they wear off depending on the mass of the object. And since the moon is, an object of pretty decent mass, it's not going to remain small for long. So he tries to, contact Gru about this development. However, Signal not agree for him. So the guy goes to go and warn him. Then we cut back to Gru, who destroys millions of dollars in government investment, all to miss the entire event. However, he gets a note from Vector telling him to bring the moon in exchange for the girls, which he does. However, Vector wants to become Judas Iscariot. The guy is not keeping his word, so Gru has to lock in. My guy enters, I don't know, goddamn flashpoints, dodges every single missile. One taps a shark. Those are fishes on steroids. He one-tapped that thing and started walking Vector down. Nah. I wish I could do edit. I do an edit for bro. My guy has become a Matrix level threat in 30 minutes. Bro had Vector even running for his life. Ever Gru is locked in, chases bro down and almost dies, but then reinforcements come to save his life, and then they save the children as the effect of the shrink ray wears off finally, returning our beloved moon to its rightful position where God put it in the first place. However, Vector is now trapped on it. But anyhow, yeah, Gru readopts the girls and they live happily ever after.